This is Sovereignty Rising with me, Dawn, your contrarian soul guide and spiritual CEO. I'm here to burn the masks, break the spells, and call you back to the power that has always been yours. Let's go right for the jugular. You are not powerless. You never were. But the world has trained you to pretend you are, to say, I had no choice, to collapse, to comply, to make yourself small. And here's the mic drop. You're still choosing. Not choosing is still choosing. Every silence, every reaction, every I can't is still participation in your own life. So let's stop lying to ourselves. Let's stop outsourcing our power. And let's talk about what it really means to live Principle 4 of co-creation. You always have a choice, even when you pretend that you don't. Welcome to Sovereignty Rising. Ditch the fear, embrace your flame. I'm Dawn Elgin, Contrarian soul guide, visionary mystic, and creatrix of practical spiritualism. And this is the space where we strip away the fear, burn the old stories down, and reclaim the power that was never truly lost, just buried. Here, we dive into raw, unfiltered conversations on emotional healing, spiritual awakening, and the art of unlearning everything that keeps you stuck, small, and disconnected from your truth. Together, we rise like phoenixes. Flame first, fear last. Let's rise together. Let's begin with the trap of fake powerlessness. Here's why we pretend we don't have a choice. It feels safer. If I say I had no choice, then I don't have to feel the discomfort of choosing differently. I don't have to risk upsetting anyone. I don't have to stand alone. But here's the shadow cost. Every time you collapse into I can't, you betray yourself. You abandon yourself. You let fear sit in the driver's seat. And the truth is, you're not weak. You're rehearsing powerlessness. There was a season in my life when I kept telling myself, I don't have a choice. I was in a relationship where I shrank every single day, where silence was my survival strategy, where the smile on my face wasn't real, it was armor. I remember journaling pages and pages of words that all said the same thing. Why can't I be freer? Why can't I be braver? Why can't I just speak up? And the truth? I could. I just didn't want to face the consequences of what would happen if I did. The day that I realized, the day that I admitted I'm not powerless, I'm just afraid, everything changed. Not instantly, not magically, but something cracked open. And once you see your own participation, you can't unsee it. Let me just lay these on you. Fear isn't proof. It is just habit. Every time you say, I can't, what you're really saying is, I won't. Not choosing is still choosing. Sovereignty begins where pretending ends. Go ahead and just tattoo those on your soul. Here's the reframe. Every single thought you think is participation. Every feeling you allow or repress is participation. Every reaction you don't question is participation. This isn't about blame. This is about energetic authorship. If you don't like what you're experiencing, you don't need to shame yourself. You need to start noticing where you're unconsciously participating in it. Because once you see it, you can choose again. One of my absolute favorite quotes is, prayer is when you talk to God, and meditation or contemplation is when God talks to you. And often, this will even come through in intuition. And the first time I heard this, I remember I had to listen to it over and over and over again in this book. And it really sank in. So I want you to just consider this. Every single thought you have is a prayer. Every single emotion you emote is a prayer. And then they're answered. The thoughts you think plus the emotions that you feel create an experience. They create an experience inside of you, which then you perpetuate outside of you. Now, I don't say this to you so that we can judge ourselves harshly. Quite the opposite. Because my curiosity made me go, okay, but where do the thoughts come from? And I'm sure you've heard me say it probably on almost every single podcast episode. They come from your beliefs, and your beliefs come from most of them prior to the age of 8 years old. So why would you judge yourself or shame yourself or guilt yourself for where you are right now? Up until the moment that we become aware, that we become conscious and we start making choices, we're still responsible, but we were participating unaware. And now we have this beautiful opportunity to start to shift, to choose again. There's these moments where we get to pause, and it's in the pausing that we create enough space to create a different experience. So the first thought might come where we go back into an old story of blaming or being a victim. But if we can suddenly pause because of that awareness and we keep repeating it, meditation and contemplation, we create this space where we can become aware, where we can notice the thoughts, where we can start to choose again. Is this who I want to be? Who am I when I have these thoughts? How do I behave? How do I interact with the world? Is that who I want to be? And then we can choose again. Who would I be if I didn't? What thought aligns with the highest version of myself, the person that I want to become? And then go there. I often say to my son, I want you to think of yourself in 4 or 5 years from now. Maybe you're married, you're a dad. How do you want to react? How do you want to show up for your kid? And channel that guy now. That's how we start going there. We start creating consciously, by choice, with awareness, a different version of ourselves. So when I say to you, every thought's a prayer and every emotion is a prayer, do not beat yourself up for who you've been before, because that was the loop, the pattern that we fell into. But now that we know this, now we get to create something. We get to really be the author of our life. We get to make conscious choice. And that's a beautiful freaking gift. Maybe you're like me. Years ago, I used to ask, why is this happening to me? And I used to feel like I was a victim of life. As I started the spiritual journey and releasing my old wounds, my dramas, my traumas, I started to have the belief that life was happening for me. And it wasn't until I started to shift and understand these concepts of co-creation that I could fully grasp that every single moment is happening through me. The problem often comes, the life I'm creating through me interacts with the life that you are creating through you. And that's when we can think that events are outside of our control. And the truth is, we don't have control over what is happening for other people. We do have control over ourselves, or at least that's the goal. As I often say to our team, to clients, you are your only project, not theirs. You can't change your mom. You can't change your husband. Can't even change your kids. You are your only project. And as you shift, everything else will start shifting. Because if you're not participating with the energy of anger, resentment, or frustration, then you are going to interact differently with what they are putting out. And they're going to put out different energy based on what you're putting out. This is how the whole ripple effect works. This is why these principles of co-creation are so freaking crazy powerful. When I was in my 40s, I started to feel unfulfilled. I had everything that looked good on the outside, all the things that we're told that we want, the house, the great husband, the kids, vacations, vehicles, everything was what I was told I was supposed to want. And people would even tell me how lucky I was or how they wished they could have my life. And I started to feel really guilty and really ashamed because what I was feeling was tired, exhausted, stretched too thin. I felt like I had all of these balls juggling in the air and I was going to drop one. And nothing was going to be okay. I didn't know how to stop the world that I was creating. I didn't know how to adjust the world I had created. And I had already started my spiritual journey, but it was starting to create dissonance with my practical life. I couldn't come to terms with what I was feeling called to do, what was starting to light me up, and what everything said I should be doing in this world that we live in. So I started to create this dichotomy. I had these two opposing energies happening, and I just didn't know how to stop it. And so instead of changing my work and making hard decisions and adjusting our life, I abdicated my power. At that moment, I very much was, Jesus, take the wheel. And knowing that, I can't say that anything happened to me or that it happened for me. It still happened through me. As crazy as it seems, the greatest gifts that I have been given is the opportunity to see my life through a different lens, to understand that as difficult and painful and struggle as life has been, it didn't have to be that way. It was my fears, my worries, my concerns. That's what caused all of that. Once we start coming into terms with this, once we start going, wait a minute, what are these thoughts I'm having? Well, they're linked to a belief, and that belief doesn't align with the life that I want to create. Then I can start to unwind them. This becomes the baseline of all of it, of all of our work, is letting go. What is sovereignty? Sovereignty is letting go. What is freedom? Freedom is letting go. What is healing? Healing is letting go. Life does not have to be this kind of a struggle. It doesn't have to be suffering. As that beautiful old quote from the Buddha goes, pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Suffering is caused by us pushing and resisting life. Once we start to let it unfold and get curious, I wonder what this day is going to bring. It always comes from us having expectations of how things are supposed to be going down and then judgments. We're going to get into that next week, but because that's principle number 5. But it always comes down to these things. But underneath that, why do I have those expectations? Why do I have those judgments? It's always because of some belief. And those beliefs are given to us either from our parents, from society, from culture, from time, from gender. There's some reason that we have them, and we need to unwind those beliefs so that we can start to think differently. When we start to think different thoughts, we can have different emotions. When we start to experience and choose the thoughts we want to think, to experience and choose the emotions we want to feel, we create a different experience in this world, not only for us. From there, it very easily ripples out to the people in our home, to our families, to our work, to life and community all around us. That's why I always say, start with the low-hanging fruit. Who do you live with? Start there. Start with being in your car every day. For me, the vehicle was like easy pickings. Inevitably, somebody's going to cut you off or go too slow or do something you disagree with on the road. We all are extraordinarily opinionated when it comes to driving. So start there. Start where you can release. Start when you're in your car and the first thought comes out and you're angry and then you go, no, choose again. I often use my name to break a thought loop, just to shock us out of it. Dawn, enough. So where in your life is there low-hanging fruit? Places that are easier for you to start to practice with. The key is first being aware. The second is intention. Once we make the intention, okay, I'm going to see if I can get through this first hour of work with my irritating coworker and not blow a gasket or insult them or have a negative thought. And we just keep restarting. When the old loop, the old pattern comes up, we just keep restarting. It really is that simple. We love to make things difficult. We love to make everything far harder than it ever needs to be. We just keep restarting. Shoot, there, I did it again. Restart. Ugh, pissing me off. Okay, deep breath. Restart. And we just keep restarting. After a while, we start creating a different loop and a different pattern. So let's take a quick pause and just anchor all this information into our bodies. If you're safe to do so, go ahead and close your eyes. And we're going to just do this sovereignty anchoring. So you can breathe all the way down into your pelvic bowl. If you've listened to my podcast, you know where we're going to go. And just start beginning to anchor the breath there. Inhaling into the pelvic bowl, letting it expand, exhaling, letting it release. Inhale all the way down into your pelvic bowl. And as you exhale, feel roots move through your sits bones, anchoring you into the earth. With each exhale, let those roots go deeper and deeper and deeper. And now, as you inhale, draw the breath from the core of the earth all the way up your spine and into your heart. And this time, I want you to exhale through the crown of your head, stretching up like branches, up into the ether. Each inhale, we breathe in. Each exhale, those roots go higher and higher. As you inhale, draw down all the way to your heart. And as you exhale, let it go. You are the bridge, ether and earth, matter and spirit. Now ask yourself, where am I pretending I don't have a choice? Don't rush the answer. Where am I pretending I don't have a choice? And just breathe. Let your body speak. Then breathe into this mantra. I choose to choose. Inhale. Exhale. I choose to choose. Now, let's chat about this myth of no choice. Let's dismantle the greatest lie we've ever told ourselves. I had no choice. I had to stay. I couldn't say no. I had to keep the peace. No, the consequence of choosing differently might have been terrifying. I will give you that. But the choice was always there. We just don't like the unknown. And here's the paradox. The moment you stop pretending you had no choice, you stop living as a victim. Ouch. And that's where your power comes rushing back. It's not victim to survivor. It's victim to victorious. Now, this is a good place for us to take a quick break from our sponsor. This episode is sponsored by me, your spiritual CEO, your contrarian soul guide, your coach, and channel through the fires of sovereignty. If you're ready to stop pretending you're powerless and start living like the creator you are, Soul Alchemy, my deep one-to-one container for breaking upper limits and embodying your true power, or Aligned Living, my practical spiritual space for integrating this work every single day, book a sovereignty session. No pitch, no pressure, just presence. Links are in the show notes. Let's get back to the fire. Welcome back. We are talking about the principles of co-creation, and we're on principle number 4. Every thought, every emotion, every reaction is a choice. And we are here to let all of it go so that we can choose again. So here's how this principle works. We are in partnership with the universe. And like any partnership, we need healthy communication and a common vision, or we're going to have chaos. So if I'm saying, I want my purpose, I want to walk my path, I want my truth, and then all of a sudden I'm saying, oh no, not right now, I'm not ready, this doesn't feel safe for me, I'm going to start co-creating some serious chaos. And when we start doing this, what we're really doing is abdicating our power. So I'm asking for all of this support, my guardians, my guides, my soul's going, all right, let's create this. And then my ego gets involved and I'm like, halt. And at some point, everything has been laid out for me. Everything has been set up with divine timing. And we're going to get the push because you asked for it. You said you wanted your purpose. You said you wanted to walk the path. You don't walk forward on your own. At some point, somebody's going to walk into you from behind. And that's exactly what it's like when all of our guards and guides are walking around marching behind us and we just stop and it's like, here we go. And it might not land the way that you'd hoped. This is the suffering. This is what we create. But be very clear, still not happening to us, and it's still not happening for us. It is absolutely happening through us. We are co-creating our life. And it's important that we remember that this is a partnership and we need to meet each other halfway. So we can't sit back and just wait, which is another favorite of ours to do. Oh, I'll quit my job when the right job comes up. I'll, leave my husband when all these other things happen. We wait. We need proof that everything's going to unfold the way that we want before we make a move. And part of this is because of the fear. We want safety and we want security. But we forget that the safety and security is within ourselves, to trust that we're resilient enough to keep going, as well as faith and security in the universe. And that can be hard when we've been saying we haven't been supported this whole time. And it hasn't been the universe that has betrayed us, that's abandoned us. It's been us. We just didn't know it. Here's the soul drop I want to leave you with. Accountability isn't punishment. It's liberation. When you own your choices, you own your power. When you stop pretending, you start creating. When you take radical responsibility, you stop rehearsing victimhood and start rehearsing sovereignty. So here's your mantra for the week. Say it with me. I own my choices. I honor my power. I refuse to pretend I am powerless. One more time. I own my choices. I honor my power. I refuse to pretend I am powerless. That's it. That is sovereignty. You are not broken. You are not too much. You're remembering who you've always been. And this journey is just getting started. If today's episode lit something in you, hit follow so you don't miss what's coming. And if you're feeling it, leave a review. It helps with more soul-led women find this space. Want to go deeper? Come find me on YouTube, Facebook, our private Facebook community, The Awakening Circle, Instagram, TikTok, or at our website, practicalspiritualismco.com, for all the ways we can rise together. Not to worry, all those links are in our show notes. Until next time, stay sovereign, stay bold, and keep that fire lit.